Hey guys, welcome to the show. Today in our Mortgage Minutes, I have Matt with Goosehead Insurance with me, and we're going to give you guys some tidbits and maybe some things you didn't know about home and auto insurance. Matt is an expert in home and auto. He's helped a lot of my clients this year. He's saved people a lot of money, including my father. And there's a lot of things out there that we find that people just assume when they're getting insurance quotes that they don't even realize are out there. So we wanted to bring him on to kind of talk a little bit about what he does and educate you guys. And, feel free to ask questions. We're going to open up the chat. You can ask questions and interact with us, and we'll be happy to take any and all questions that you have. So, welcome to the show, and here we go. Matt, tell us about why you chose Goosehead as where you hung your hat when you got into insurance.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mary, for having me. So I started about 6 months ago at this point. I was working at Merrill Lynch before, and I've been doing financial advising for about 5 years up to that. And I had a family friend introduce me to Blake and Ryan. They're the owners of the agency that at Goosehead that I actually signed up with. And really came down to a couple different things. I was really big at working with people, over communication over the phone and being able to contact people. I worked in a bank branch as well, so I worked with a variety of different types of people. And I saw like a great opportunity coming with Goosehead in terms of the technology that they use, the way they're able to reach people and make it very easy to be able to get insured. And then more specifically to Blake and Ryan, the way they interact with their clients and their business partners. So being able to educate as well as, get you the insurance that you need, and then being able to work, personally one-on-one with the business partners that we have. We make it a seamless experience and something that when someone sends a client over to us, not only does the business partner like yourself know that it's going to be taken care of, or at least given, hey, this is, some of the things that we're looking at, but we're able to work in the parameters that they're working as well and be able to help the client get something that they need for the price range that they're looking for. So it's a very all-encompassing experience, and I've been blessed to be able to meet up with Blake and Ryan and Goosehead.
And how is it that you guys work with your clients? Like if I called in for a quote today, what are some things that we would talk about during our conversation?
So basically get an understanding of kind of what you're getting into. Underwriting for insurance goes through a lot of the personal questions about you as a person. Also goes a lot of questions regarding, hey, if you're new home or you're renting, about the property that you're going to be at and some of the personal things that you own. So a lot of times what we look at is, what's the age of the property that you're working at or working with? Do you have a pool? Do you have a dog? Do you have any kind of crazy backyard sheds or workshops that you have back there? I've seen a lot of different, very interesting things. But a lot more specific details kind of coming down to what type of security system do you have in the home? A lot of people think that a Ring Central is the same as working with, an ADT or CPI. But in reality, there's, a certificate you're going to get for a centrally monitored alarm system. And so that offers you a great discount. Being able to bundle home and auto. I know that's pretty much out there in every single commercial that exists in the insurance space, but that is something that we look at because that's really the biggest offer that some companies have. But at the same time, other companies will actually give you a discount if you do the auto with another company. So there's a couple that just do home or they just do auto. They'll provide you a discount is if you're with us and we're able to find you an alternative. We do some arbitrage and figure out, well, Progressive or one specific company has a lot for a home and auto. We're able to say, well, there's a couple of alternatives where we can do A and B together, and it's actually save you some money. So there's a lot of different questions that we go through, but we try to make sure that we hit the big ones and make it like I said, I think a seamless process, just going through the order that we have them.
And listening to Matt speak, I'm going to ask him an on-the-spot question here.
Okay.
So you have carriers that you mix and match through. And so what would be different me calling you to get a quote versus, like Geico or Progressive
Mhm.
and getting a quote through them?
So oftentimes when you're working with one large company like those that you mentioned, they're able to provide you their rates and sometimes an alternative 1, 2, or 3 options. Goosehead actually works with a variety of different companies. In North Carolina alone, we have 30 different carriers for home and auto. And so being able to shop all those with the click of a button, as opposed to you going out there and having to do 1, 2, 3 different companies, it saves you time and you feel like you've accomplished more by being able to shop the market with us rather than having to go out there. What am I forgetting? What am I missing? Why is this one so much cheaper than the other? Or we can break it down within about an hour from, soup to nuts, from you giving us the call or us giving you the call to getting it taken care of and off to the loan officer for a home insurance. Being able to hit all those so rapidly is actually one of the things that drew me to Goosehead. I said, you mean I don't have to go out there and click on each individual site and figure it out? It's like, no, we have a great tool. We call it our rater. We even have a digital rater where the client can even put in their information and be able to see in real time, hey, these are the range of options that we have. It's wild to me because coming from a financial advisor, I never thought I'd get so juiced up about insurance, but being able to solve problems is kind of what I do. I'm very analytical. I'm very competitive. And so those are the things that I like to be able to do quickly.
And guys, you heard that, right? So he said he's a problem solver. So what I was trying to pull out of Matt is one of the things that I love about Goosehead is they are your partner. So whether it's home, auto, both, they're your partner. When you go to like a Progressive, it's very frustrating, one from the lender standpoint, because there's not a person I can call and say, hey, what was the quote that you gave? Hey, I need this changed, or we're moving a date out. It's a 800 number and you're like at the mercy of whoever picks up, or sometimes they want you to do things electronically that you don't even have a personal interaction with. And when I call Goosehead, Matt, Blake, all those guys, they answer their phone, they talk to you, they talk to the client. If I need a change, I've got it in my hand within 5 minutes. And it makes a difference actually having that person to person contact versus you're just a statistic and a number in somebody's computer system. And you've got someone who is shopping for your needs because they're going to have that conversation with you and find out, what are your needs? What are your wants with this insurance quote? It's not just, okay, you've got this house or you've got this automobile and here's your quote. They are going to pull more things out and find out more about your lifestyle, your family, your business, whatever it is that you have going on, and try to find something that's going to suit all of your needs and work for whatever situation you get yourself into. And you've got a partner for life because you can always call them and requote and reshop as time goes on, because those are things that even I didn't know about until I got into the industry. That, okay, I've got my homeowner's insurance over here and it's all good, and you're paying it through the mortgage, and all of a sudden your mortgage goes up 6 years down the road. Well, your house is 6 years older and things happen. And so that's where you have that person to person contact and that agent to go to and say, hey, can we take a look at this policy? Is it still the best policy for me? And they actually will walk you through what your current situation is and help you requote that and see if there's something better out there. And it really makes a difference. When you have that, oh my God moment, you've got someone that you can pick up the phone who's going to get you an answer versus you're at the mercy of a computer system waiting to get back to you. And military guys out there, I'm going to tell you, USAA is great for all intended purposes, but it's not always the best option. And again, it's a computer system, or you're at whoever picks up the phone for your 800 customer service questions. But I have also found that having veterans shop, you go to USAA, get your quote, and then you come to Goosehead. They've actually beat some of the quotes that we've gotten for USAA. So give them a shot. I mean, they're phenomenal to work with. They're great to partner with. And they actually believe in taking care of their clients. So everybody I've sent over there has sung praises and had wonderful things to say. But Matt and I were talking before we got on the air about riders, and those are things that as consumers we don't think about. And until I got more like versed with different types of insurance and what different riders were and what they meant, I didn't even realize it was a thing. You know, you just call, you get this quote, and whatever they put on there is what you're supposed to have, but that's not always the case. Or you'll find that something you really do need down the road is something that they're going to take out. So I'd like Matt to talk a little bit about those types of things and what to look for and what you should know.
I think the big point there is every situation is a little bit unique, honestly. Being able to go through each individual company and all the different riders that they do have, they do or don't offer, it can get a little bit tedious. I think a lot of times what you find is, what's the type of situation that we need to be able to solve for? When I was with Merrill Lynch, one of the approaches that we took was financial planning, is having a plan and being able to be more of a quarterback for a variety of different situations, as opposed to just being the investment guy. You know, being able to offer sound financial advice in that context. I kind of translated that to insurance and being able to have a plan for all the different needs that you have. And so being able to get as much information up front in terms of what's the situation that we need to be able to operate in or be able to solve. That's the one that I find is getting those questions out early. May take a little bit more time, but it really helps to be able to get it done right and taken care of the first time. And one of the big things that I think the phrases that we use, not to disparage the industry, but you know, it's insurance. We'll figure it out, get it done. It's not, you know, life or death. It's going to be making sure that we get you whole, but at the end of the day, we're going to figure out how to fix this as smoothly as possible.
And as far as homeowners insurance, a lot of people think that insurance follows the property. Is that the case, or does it follow the person? Like, say I had a roof leak and I put it on my insurance. Would that follow me to my next house, or would that follow the property itself?
A little bit of both. Most people don't realize this, but just like you have a credit score, you kind of have an individualized insurance score. It's based off a number of different factors. A lot of different companies have a different score for you for their actuary tables. But if you're telling me that this is a 40-year-old house and it's had a number of claims, I'm going to be able to see that when I run my reports. The insurance industry, the insurance companies have a lot of access to DMV records, to loan records, to housing records. And they're going to be able to see everything. You think about, show me the Carfax, show me the home fax. So that's one of the things that you should be able to get when you're buying the home, and you should know everything's there. But sometimes, you know, you might think that one claim that you made, 5 years ago wasn't really that big of a claim. And in fact, we actually didn't go through with it, but someone was still logging it for the company that you were with. And so it could still be on there as, it didn't pay out anything, but they'll still pop up. And some companies will look at that differently than others. So again, everyone has their own insurance score, and every property has their own insurance history. So those are all things to take into consideration. Why is this company more expensive than the other? They look at different things differently.
And, when it comes to like replacement cost, we have times where maybe someone's house has gotten broken into and things go missing. So what would be a good circumstance versus a not good circumstance to make a claim on something?
For break-ins like that, it's a little bit different. We handle a lot of where the gray area comes in is when it's more damage to the house. Is this something that I really want to hit my insurance with? And that oftentimes is kind of a judgment call. And that's where it's more of an art than a science is. We work with restoration companies. We work with handymen who will actually go out there and kind of do a little pre-assessment. Hey, is this something that I really want to go file? They'll take a look at it. They'll give their opinion. The big break point is, does it really hit your deductible? And so if it's an $800, you're not going to clear the deductible. It's not, just take care of it. But if this is something where it's going to be $50,000, $100,000, we want to be the quarterback to work with our service team, because we have a full staff service team that actually knows the ins and outs and intricacies. I mean, they get their joy from reading the fine print on insurance policies. I've read it, but I don't really relish doing that. So I make sure that I know what I need to know to be dangerous, but I rely heavily on my full service team that knows the ins and outs and intricacies of every single company, and they will spend the time to go through and really dig into the nitty gritty of the policies. But I think just being able to take a calm, measured approach and say, is this something that we want to take care of through insurance, or we want to just take care of it out of pocket? Because it will affect you in the long run, and it will carry with you. I've had people be shocked that it's like, well, we filed that claim, but it wasn't that much. You still filed a claim.
Right.
So I'm surprised too, but that's the way they look at it. So sometimes you just got to kind of bite the bullet there. But again, the insurance, I would think of it there as a last case scenario. I wouldn't rely on it heavily to fix my roof. And that's something that recently, especially insurance companies that I've noticed since I've come into the industry, have been ratcheting up. Is actually, in the South, because we're licensed from Maryland all the way down to Florida, and each state's pretty much their own, kind of unique little zone of reality. So you got to figure out what's going on in each area, and politics plays a little role into it. Just kind of what's going on in that cities plays a role into it, because Orlando may be different than Atlanta, and Orlando might be different than Miami. So there's just so many variables that it's hard for anyone to know all the answers. But I'll tell you, we do our best to make sure that we can narrow it down to at least a zone of acceptability.
And that's where having an agent that you can talk to is good. Just like I like my clients to come to me and plan their, steps before they do something they shouldn't do when they're trying to buy a house or refinance. It's the same way with insurance. Call your agent and have a conversation before you do something that may cost you more money in the long run. And then Matt, can you hit on like the different types? Like people come in and they're like, oh, I'm buying a house, and they think it's just homeowners insurance. But depending on where they live, there might be something else that needs to go along with that homeowners policy.
Yeah, so there's a couple different things there. I think the big one that you're alluding to is the flood. And so basically FEMA sets out, the government says, well, these areas, what's the likelihood of them flooding in 100 years? And sometimes it's areas that you would never even imagine. I mean, I saw one where it was out in the Outer Banks, just on, less than a mile width of land, and it's one row of houses and it's out there. That's not a flood zone, according to FEMA. And couldn't believe it, but it's rated X, right? And then you look and it's someplace in a valley in the middle of Missouri, and it's a flood area because for whatever reason, that area, it just gets hit hard. So there's a lot of different variables that go into it. And those maps, if you look at them, I've seen them where it's going to be this street's in a flood zone, that street's not in a flood zone. So it blows my mind sometimes when you see the kind of minutia that goes into it. But, you can't put a price on peace of mind. And so being able to provide flood, which doesn't come in your standard homeowners policy, people are surprised to see that. And so, understanding those endorsements that go on there, we look at flood as a true endorsement to the policy. Some companies do it, built in, and sometimes you have to go out and go with an outside company. We have a couple different partners, so you have a variety of options. But there's things like, hey, what constitutes a flood? And, when it affects, 2 or more houses or 2 or more acres of land, that constitutes legally as a flood. But if you have some water backup from your sump pump or from the drains that are supposed to flow out, like your toilet or your sink, and it actually floods back into the house and damages your floor, that's not a flood. That's water backup. And so that's treated differently. And oftentimes that's either left off of a policy or forgotten. But that can be costly, and you can be surprised to find out, hey, this is $20,000. My deductible is $1,000. What do you mean I'm not covered? So, again, finding the right solution to the problems and then customizing it to the individuals, how they feel about things. I'm not in a flood zone, but I'd hate for my forever home to be gone.
Yeah. And those are things that even as lenders, we don't always think about, guys. But I had one recently. They were buying out close to the beaches, but it was inland enough that they didn't need the flood insurance, but they needed a wind policy. And I'm like, a wind policy? Is that even such a thing? That apparently, if you're prone to hurricanes and stuff, there's a different type of policy that goes along with your homeowners. So just being mindful of what's needed to protect your peace of mind. And that's what insurance is all about, is, it ensures your peace of mind, so you're not stressed out when life or nature happens.
Well, it never is going to happen to you until it happens to your neighbor or you. So if everyone could predict the future, I mean, I'd be on a beach somewhere. So, but I think some of the things like a flood policy that people don't quite understand, isn't automatically included. I know from growing up, I had two brothers, and the thing my mother always talked about is, hey, I have an umbrella policy, but that doesn't mean you get to do anything stupid. So when you have teenage kids and you have drivers and you have, boys, I guess, looking at something like an umbrella policy, because your homeowners, gives you liability coverage. And the max is typically around 500,000. Some companies are a little bit more, but being able to throw something on like an umbrella that gives you an extra $1 million that follows with you off your property, around the world, really, that if, someone wants to come after you for whatever reason, or if you did something, hey, I wasn't thinking in the moment, you want something to be there so that, hey, you're protected, and let the insurance company take the hit instead of you.
And looks like we got a question too, Matt. So we've got Warren Reader. Verification of, or I think it's verification of insurance. So thank you for that comment, Warren, and thank you for tuning in also. But guys, if you've got questions, Matt's here for a couple of minutes, take advantage of it and ask him the questions, ask him stuff you're afraid to ask when you get those quotes, or, you're afraid to call your insurance company and say, hey, can you check this out? Or can we do this? That's what he's here for. These guys are amazing to work with. They're huge on educating, which is something that I'm very passionate about, and making sure that you've got all the ammunition you need to make a good decision, and to make sure that you're in the best place. I can't even talk today. Best place possible as far as what your needs are. Everything's covered. You've got all the education. You've got all your information, and it's affordable coverage. Things people don't even think about sometimes, like my dad, for instance, is actually Matt's customer, and he was paying twice what Matt quoted him just for his vehicle insurance, just because he didn't know any different. And he's been doing that amount for the last 15 years without even realizing it, because he just thought, oh, you just go to one company and they're going to give you the best of the best. But that's not always the case. They're going to give you what they have to offer, versus having someone that's like a broker that has all these different channels, and they can shop all these different places to say, hey, what you have isn't the best policy. Look, here's what you can do, and this is how much we can save you in the process. So his number is rolling at the bottom of the screen. It's 704-912-4333. That's 704-912-4333. Guys, reach out to him, ask questions, and you may be pleasantly surprised at what he finds for you. If nothing else, he's a great reference if you know someone who is in need of home or auto insurance also. And Matt, as we're wrapping up, is there any last tidbits of wisdom you want to give?
Tidbits of wisdom. I think I just had my birthday a couple of days ago, and I think the thing that I've learned to accept is that you're never going to know everything, and that it's always good to ask questions. I always think back to when I played college football. One of our coaches always told us, Brett Favre, even when he was playing in his 20th season or 19th season, was, had a notebook and still wrote down something new on the play that he ran 1,000 times before. So even if you've been through the process with multiple different cars, multiple different family members, multiple houses, there's still something to be learned from every experience that you go through. So ask questions, reach out to people who know just a little bit more than you in every different area. And I think the more you know, the more you realize, the less you know. So I think I said that phrase right there, but I've just been amazed at, the level of, I think, knowledge that I've gotten from my team. Blake and Ryan are been in the industry for about 10 years. And so every time that I don't know the answer to something or that I want double checked on, I always just lean across the table because they sit right next to me and I say, hey, what do you think about this one? And so I was just find a way to stack the deck in my favor. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. So
that is some great advice, Matt. And I mean, I do it in my industry too. 25 years in, you think you've seen every situation, but sometimes it's right in front of me, but that second set of eyes on it, just having someone look at it and I'm second guessing, going, is this really the right way to do it? It's like valuable just getting that other insight. And even with my assistant, I tell her, 2 sets of eyes. I said, don't be surprised when I call on you and just say, let's talk this through and make sure this is the right direction to go in for our clients, because I always want to make sure that they have everything that they need and they're in the best place possible. And I'm still always learning. And the time that you quit learning new things or quit trying to learn new things, that's when you hang up your hat and say, okay, I'm old now. As long as you keep learning stuff, you'll always be young. But again, reach out, ask questions. We're here for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Mortgage Minutes.